Welcome to today's episode of Heard and Seen Around. I am Rajesh Karipurath. This is my take on macroeconomic and geoeconomic data points, which I find interesting. I hope you enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed curating it. Cheers.
Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. Warren Buffett. The safest way to double your money is to fold it over and put it in your pocket. Kin Hubbard. Politics is show business for ugly people. Jay Leno. In politics, stupidity is not a handicap. Napoleon Bonaparte. If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed.
FY26 tech revenue may hit $350 billion, up 6.1%. Not blistering growth, but solid in the recent global environment. IT services will still dominate at $149 billion, followed by ER&D at $63 billion and BPM at $59 billion. Exports remain the backbone at $246 billion. AI already at a $10 to $12 billion slice, about 4% of total revenue and rising. The story isn't hyper-growth, it's durability. Clients are spending less on experimentation, more on productivity and ROI. In other words, AI is moving from pilot decks to production budgets. Corporate India is likely looking at a 9.1% average salary hike in 2026. That's slightly cooler than 2024's 9.6% and 2025's 9.3%. Steady but moderating. Global capability centers lead at over 10%. Financial services and e-commerce remain strong. IT and manufacturing solid but no longer sprinting. Attrition has eased, which means companies feel less pressure to overpay for retention. The era of panic hiring is fading. Skills still command premiums, but blanket hikes are narrowing. So if you're expecting double digits, you'd better be in a niche skill bucket. The government has doubled down on asset recycling. Under NMP 2.0, 16.7 lakh crores worth of public assets are targeted for monetization by FY30, about 67% higher than the earlier pipeline. Highways lead the charge, followed by power, railways, ports and coal. Translation: instead of selling land, the state is leasing revenue-generating assets to fund new capex. This isn't privatization, it's capital rotation. Recycle mature assets, redeploy into fresh infrastructure. If executed well, it crowds in private capital without ballooning debt. If delayed, it becomes another spreadsheet ambition. For the fourth straight month, net FDI was negative in December, about a $1.6 billion outflow. That's largely due to higher repatriation and outward investments. But here's the nuance. Gross inward FDI between April and December actually rose to $73 billion, up from $63 billion last year. So capital is still coming in, it's just also flowing out faster. This isn't a collapse, it's churn. In a higher global rate environment, multinationals optimize balance sheets, move dividends, rebalance exposure. The signal to watch itself isn't 1 month's net figure, it's sustained weakness in gross inflows. That has not happened yet. India has rolled out a new GDP series, fixing gaps in the older 2011-2012 framework. The big upgrade, a double deflator approach, better coverage of unincorporated enterprises, tighter integration via supply-use tables. Translation: cleaner math, fewer mismatches between production and expenditure sides. Under the new 2022-23 base, past growth numbers shift. FY24 real GDP moves from 9.2% to 7.2%. FY26 and FY25 and 26 estimates also adjust modestly. Does this change the economy? No. But does it change how we measure it? Definitely yes. Statistical discrepancies have narrowed but not vanished. This is where the story gets interesting. In Q3 FY26, several sectors show strong volume growth but muted pricing power. Electronics up nearly 19% year-on-year on output, prices barely moving. Autos up 16%, but WPI under 1%. Even iron and steel shows double-digit volume growth, but negative price momentum. Translation: demand is improving, but producers aren't pushing up prices. That's capacity utilization rising without inflation pressure. On the flip side, textiles show volume contraction despite stable prices. Weak demand, not margin squeeze. The macro takeaway: growth is volume-led, not price-led. That's good for real GDP, less so for operating leverage.